Now, let's talk about some of the issues right now. I have some little cold, I'm sorry. All right. Now, joining me to talk about developments on the Electoral Act Amendment Bill is a lawyer, Olutubosun Osifowora, who is joining us here. Recall that in the last few weeks, there has been controversy around the Electoral Act Amendment Bill, and to help us make sense of this is a lawyer, Olutubosun Osifowora, to help us make sense of this. Good morning, and thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Nice
Great.
To be here.
Now, exactly. I wonder why there is so much controversy around the issue of the Electoral Act when a lot of Nigerians feel this is the right way to go, considering the content of it.
All right. Basically, what happened was the issue of transmission of results. I mean, they feel that, once upon a time, everything was practically manual. And I mean, from manual voting from manual accreditation, manually checking your names, then voting, then also, everything is all manual. You put it on paper, then from that location, there's a collation center, then you take it from there. And if you look at from history, you find it from the days of FEDECO, up to when NEC and INEC came on. Exactly. You find that a basic thing that happens is hijacking of ballot boxes. Yeah. It's almost peculiar. It's a basic peculiarity of the Nigerian electoral system, where once you hear there's election, the next thing you hear is they've hijacked ballot boxes, and then before you know it, results are flying in the air. Then we go to court and all that. So it's just commonplace for any right-thinking people to sit down, review what has gone on. So then you saw a few innovations coming on. Initially, we used to have very lengthy, litigation where the term would have expired, then they're swearing in a new person. It just disrupted the whole calendar. So a few things started coming up. Now, so then the major one was the introduction of the card reader, which brought technology into voting. And fine, it started with its own hitches here and there. We saw people going on, card reader not working, card reader not reading palms and all that. But over time, we went past that. Then it developed and it became a stable part. In fact, there were cases that were decided that said card reader is not really part of, our electoral laws. But over time also, the courts have come to realize that this thing is a part of it. Now, then came the major one, which is transmission. Sincerely speaking, the basic problem with election, the hijacking happens where you take the ballot box from the voting center to the collation center. You see, within that short period,
anything can happen.
Everything happens.
Okay.
Everything happens within that short period. So then came the issue of, let's just do electronic transmission of this result. If there's a central server and we transmit from that point, the results are counted, collated, and read. Then, people will know what it is. Then everybody, you can sign. There's the manual side to it also to avoid manipulation. Exactly. Then you now transmit it electronically. The agents will, look at it, correspond the figures and everything, then that's it. But the Senate came, their life and livelihood is hinged on the outcome of elections. So initially they said, well, they were opposed to it. Then they came up with this half and half kind of thing, like, okay, you know what? This transmission is subject to Nigerian Communications, Commission allowing you to do it. But people came out like, no.
Anything election should be INEC.
If we can call ourselves, they were hinging it. They were hinging it on the fact that there may not be network in some places. See, the remotest of places, we have parents, we have grandparents, all those remote places, we call them. So come on, let's do this thing. So they had to come up and say, though they move, I could say from 20% to 60%, they said, okay, the commission itself, that is no longer on the NCC. Now, the commission itself can now decide to transmit. That's how we got here, and that's it. So there's no more controversy, as it were. But I think what should go next is the commission shall. It's still a may and may not kind of thing. But at least the powers are with INEC to transmit election results from the point where the votes were counted to the collation sentence and to the final place where results will actually be thrown out to the people.
But in the eyes of the law, the use of the words shall or may and can and will, what are their differences anyway in the eyes of the law?
In the eyes of the law, it's fundamental.
Okay.
Shall, I mean, the Supreme Court cases that talks about shall and may. Shall, beyond just the usual normal English usage of those words, the courts have come up to say that, shall connotes something mandatory. Without it, if it says you shall take this thing and put it here, if you don't do it,
then you've contravened.
You've contravened and you're in violation of the law. But where it is may has its own, sense, strong usage as well. Okay. But it is not as strong as shall. So may is
optional.
It's optional.
You could,
it gives
you may
the
not.
Option. Yeah, but shall makes it compulsory. Shall makes it mandatory, and that's how it runs.
Wow, this law, eh? We have to go and study this law somehow, so we can become learned.
Leave it for us. Leave it for us, and then we will explain.
All right, fine. So the crux of the issue that is making a lot of people talk and making a lot of people kick, on the other hand, is the issue of the direct primaries, which a lot of people have said, leave this political parties to decide and run whatever their internal affairs should be their affair 100%. However, a lot of other people have said, of course, the National Assembly is the people. So if they feel that let's create an atmosphere where there's more inclusion, why not? So this is the back and forth of the issue right now. Of course, we know that the bill has been passed by the National Assembly, is awaiting the presidential assent, and from the report we got, some governors and some politicians are trying to lobby the president not to sign it. Talk to us from this window.
All right. Now, the two amendments that were done to the 2010 Electoral Act, the first one was the transmission, which gives INEC and not just NCC the powers to transmit. And the second part is the issue of direct primaries, which we raised. Over time, also, we've seen people come out and say things like, they've imposed candidates on us. They didn't. We want to do our thing. Then democracy, it's about majority rule. Now, so allow the people to do their thing. Now, because the cry of imposition, but from the ruling parties and, the minority parties, all of them, they've been, everybody from the local government, even to the highest level, they come out and say, we came out to vote. Then the next thing they just said, the godfathers have imposed on us and all that. So I think that was what informed this decision, that, what? Let the people, it's about democracy. Okay, then let them go. Let there be direct primaries. Let people stand behind their candidates and there's no who. Let people come and prove their mettle. Let them stand and let it be done directly. Let's say it. Because direct primary basically has to do with, it's like an open thing. Let it be done. Let it be seen. Let it not be something that, okay, you just sat in one sitting room, the biggest man's sitting room, then wrote down names and all that. And we've seen agitations over time. So I think it's a positive development. It's one of the best things that's happened to us. If you leave parties to do their thing, I mean, we're Nigerians now, and we know how we run our shows. So it's best you enshrine it, put it in the laws, put it in black and white. Parties should come up with direct primaries. Then let it be on record. And you see, the thing is that where they don't do that, it vitiates the entire process that brought up the candidate. Now, so at the end of the day, it becomes a focal point when the thing goes to the tribunal. Because if the opposition can show that you didn't do direct primaries, we've seen that happen in some states where somebody who has gone home, relishing the fact that he's lost election is just called upon that. It didn't happen well here. Yeah. And then that one just throws it. Now, so that too has a way of messing up democracy, because it's supposed to be, this is the popular candidate, this is the person that got the highest vote, but at the end of the day, if there are no direct primaries, you're stifling, you're killing the will of the people. So let the people decide, let the people come up and say, this is how we want our thing, then let the candidates who feel they are strong enough, let them stand it. Let the direct primaries go, and then everybody will be fine. So then democracy, I mean, then at the end of the day, we would have built our democracy to that point where we know that, okay, yes, it's actually the majority that is ruling. And that shows you why you see a lot of people kicking against it.
Yeah.
I mean, those who have benefited from the system of imposition, are the ones that are actually all out against this thing.
The other argument for them, for some of them, for the reasons they give, is the issue of the cost of conducting a direct primary election, where it is almost as good as the general election itself, because almost everybody is coming out to vote for whoever they want at the level of the primaries. So the argument too is that if we have that kind of a situation, then there could also be the issue of thuggery, there could also be the issue of violence, and chaos at the primary level before you even get to the main election.
The question is, which is costlier? Denying the people their right, or getting the funds to actually do what is right? If you want to, there's no cost you put on getting things right if it will actually work out well in the end. Because if you disenfranchise people, all in the name of cost, if it's thuggery, there are ways you manage thuggery. There are ways you could curb all those things. Those are palpable fears also, which you can actually ignore. But at the end of the day, the fact is that no matter the amount of thugs, if the people say this is what we want and this is how we want it, we've seen elections, we've seen it both at the primary level, at the secondary level, at the biggest stage also. We've seen people come out and say, see, this is what we want. Under rain, come shine, come weapons flying in the air, people will stand their ground and do. So those are excuses that can be taken care of. Now, so allow the people, get the funds to do it. If we can get funds for general election, the party should source for funds. Or there are internal mechanisms that can be put in place. So, and over time also, we've seen direct primaries work. So why all of a sudden it's looking like something that is not working? So somebody somewhere is jittery. That's just it. Somebody is not sure of himself and his popularity. That's why
on the free and fair basis, where there's a level playing field, someone is not sure of himself. Okay, fine. Now,
elections are costly. So you can't rule out that fact.
Okay.
Election costs money. So we have to look for it. There's no cost you put on getting things right.
All right. Now, the another debate is when it comes to the electoral amendment and all of that. INEC is an institution of its own right now, recognized by law with its own powers and all of that. Now, when it comes to improving on the operation of INEC, why do we always have to go back to the National Assembly, to amend the powers of the INEC to do this or do that regarding election? Because some people are saying, of course, INEC should just ensure that the administrative, the process, the operational, take control. When it's time to upgrade your capacity or upgrade your process and all of that, go ahead, you already have the powers, especially when it comes to the issue of diaspora voting, or so many of these issues, and actually just go ahead when they want to go ahead.
Really, INEC is supposed to be independent. And this position you just put forward are the things that people say that if there is another body still sanctioning what INEC is doing, then that independence is questionable. Now, but you see, at the same time, the Senate it's just unfortunate that we've gotten to a level where the rulers or the legislators and the governed, it looks like an us and them kind of thing. There's no true representation, as it were. In fact, the average person doesn't feel fully represented by his representative or by the legislator. But you see, ideally, the Senate represents, or the legislative body represents the people. You put them there. So, because you cannot really, in as much as democracy is majority rule, you can't leave everything, decision making, in the hands of the majority. that was what prompted, or that was what birthed the fact that, okay, get representatives from amongst you, and then let them come and decide. In fact, if we allude to the Bible, you find out that when the early church, when there was complaints, they said, go look for 7 people amongst you. Let them represent you, and then they will speak for you. You know, it was a Greco-Roman arrangement, and democracy is Greece-oriented. Now, so that's the same thing that gave birth to the parliament. Now, so the people are there to represent you. So when INEC even does anything, the people should sanction what INEC has done. That's why you keep reverting to the Senate. And then constitutionally speaking, that's still the arrangement that we have. Now, so except you want to amend the Constitution, even the amendment of the Constitution will still be done by the Senate, because it is taking that they represent the will and the wish of the people. So whatever review INEC has done should still be sanctioned by the people, which are represented by the parliament. That's why you have that kind of arrangement.
Yeah, but on the other hand, because all of this crossing the T's and dotting the I's that have to be done before it is recognized and all of that, a lot of people say that it makes the process a little clumsy. Britain here has unwritten constitution. Everyone knows the moment this is right and is acceptable, and we all know what the standards are, we go ahead. Ours is just to agree. Should we start it now, or should we not start it now, as the case may be?
Britain has been forever. Nigeria is just 60 how many years old.
But the point there is, like they say, nothing is new. You can imbibe and learn from
I appreciate
places.
that fact, but you see, the thing is, we're evolving. Sincerely speaking, if you look at where we've been, if you look at the 1963 elections and what we have now, there's a massive, in fact, leave 63, come to 83. You know, by 93, it became, you know, I mean, people were becoming involved. There's a lot of enlightenment. Once upon a time, I mean, even if we were not there, we read about the Operation Wete and how people were destroying lives and properties. But we've evolved. It's not as if we don't have skirmishes, but now we have a situation where people can stand, their votes count, and I mean, the vote gets counted, and their votes count also. Now, so that's where we are now. And in another 10 years, you know, we're evolving. So we will look back and say that, okay, we're not where we want to be, but we are far from where we're coming from. I mean, now you saw the Anambra election.
Exactly.
We saw people openly reject money. We saw people come out and say,
people in the villages.
In the midst of what is happening in the East, people came out and said, see, this is what we want, this is who we want, and we will stand and protect it. And you saw, they got young boys, you know, IT boys, and everybody. So even before the results get transmitted to the end point, people already know the result. Once upon a time, it never used to be like that in this country. So let's appreciate how far we've come and how much development is in the air. Because if you look at it, we can criticize till tomorrow. But we're moving, it's, you know, they say by the inch, it's a cinch.
Marginally.
So that's where we are.
All right, but so the point there is, Nigerians have generally appreciated the evolution of INEC. The point there is they've improved from one election to the other, Some are experimental, but we see the semblance of improvement. So and sanity. So we look forward to institutions that one can trust, not just in INEC, but other institutions that people are looking forward to what are the pillars of our democracy and country. Olutubosun Osifowora, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Always a pleasure.
Really, thank you. Right.